Nigerian Army rescues 6 adopted Katsina clerics. APC national leadership says Ahmed Lawan as Senate President is non-negotiable. In international news, all 8 alternative Brexit options voted down by Parliament, leaving Brexit in shambles. And in sport, Super Eagles coach General says no room for new players.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The Nigerian Army has rescued 6 Islamic clerics. Sheikh Ahmed Suleiman and 5 other clerics were adopted 2 weeks ago in the Kankara local government area of Sokoto State. The Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tiko Buratai, had immediately ordered the troops to work with the police to rescue the clerics. The adopters demanded 300 million naira for the release of the 6 clerics who were returning from an annual first aid camp program held in Sokoto State. The Nigerian Army says the search and rescue team was assisted by the Nigerian Army Directorate of Military Intelligence, which provided actionable intelligence and constant guardians for the brigade. The commander, Brigadier General Tokunbo Omoniyi, said the clerics were rescued after sustained coverted surveillance and tactical lines of operations were orchestrated in close coordination with relevant security agencies. The federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities have resumed renegotiations of the 2009 agreement between both parties. At the 6-hour meeting held at the National Universities Commission headquarters in Abuja on Wednesday, Chairman of the federal government team and Pro-Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Wale Babalakin, said the renegotiation with ASU was to make extensive contributions for the benefit of the university system. Babalaki is optimistic both parties would finalize negotiations, which he said are centered on positive contributions to the benefit of the university system. Chairman of the federal government team noted that the negotiations would also include the 2019 Memorandum of Action signed between ASU and the government. A supplementary governorship election in Adamawa State is still ongoing after weeks of litigation occasioned by a lawsuit instituted by Mustafa Shaba, counsel for the governorship candidate of the Movement for the Restoration and Defense of Democracy, Eric Theme. The suit challenged the omission of the MRDD party logo from ballot papers used by the Independent National Electoral Commission for the first governorship election in the state in early March. The election will hold in 40 polling units across 14 local government areas of the state, with the candidates of the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress contesting for 41,000 votes. PDP candidate Ahmadu Fintiri is leading with 32,476 votes margin from the first election after polling 367,471, while APC candidate incumbent Governor Jibrila Bindo had 334,995 votes. Nigeria's ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, has vowed not to go back on its choice of Ahmed Lawan as Nigeria's next Senate President. APC leadership became adamant after one of the chieftains and Senator-elect Alin Dume questioned the adoption of Lawan and vowed to continue with his quest to become the Senate President in the next National Assembly. APC also says it will be an exercise in futility for the People's Democratic Party to nurse the ambition of producing the next Senate President.
My emphasis on the fact that we are not going to share power with the people that Nigerians have rejected include the fact that what the PDP people call juicy committees, that we in APC call strategic committees, is exclusive for APC.
APC National Publicity Secretary Lanre Isaonilu says the APC would not share legislative powers with the PDP because it is capable of running the government alone. Presently, the APC has more than 60 members among the 109 incoming senators. APC says in every democracy, any party that had the majority automatically produced the president of the Senate, and that Nigeria would not be an exception. The All Progressives Congress says it cannot intervene in Governor Rocha's Okorocha's problem with INEC because the governor has not approached the party for help. APC says Okorocha is still on suspension. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has refused to issue Okorocha with a certificate of return as senator-elect for Imo West District because the returning officer reported he was forced to announce Okorocha as winner. Speaking on the party's decision on Wednesday, APC National Publicity Secretary says the party cannot take any action because Okorocha is still on suspension.
In any case, he also has not even come forward to say, this is the problem I have, because he also realizes it's on suspension. So until that is vacated, before the party can now step in and say we have a full member who has issues that we need to resolve.
Different stakeholders in the Nigerian electricity industry bickered over requests presented to the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission by the Transmission Company of Nigeria to end the era of monopoly of electricity distribution by distribution companies. At a public hearing in Abuja, TCN Managing Director Usman Mohammed said the nullification of the transitional electricity market order had become necessary to empower the TCN to collect revenue on the vending of power from the 330-132 kV line. The transitional electricity market order gives exclusive electricity distribution power to DISCOs, but there had been fighting among DISCOs and other stakeholders in the electricity chain over claims that DISCOs should give other operators due shares of proceeds from electricity distribution. TCN is asking the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to render the team null and void. It added that doing this would allow TCN and electricity generating companies the opportunity to serve some prime customers directly. Coming up, African stories. More than 1 million Kenyans need assistance in drought-stricken areas. And later, international news. Brexit is in chaos as lawmakers vote down all alternative options.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. Flooding caused by Cyclone Idai has killed up to 200 persons in Zimbabwe this month, but there are fears the death toll could be higher. Neighbors, South Africa has sent sniffer dogs and helicopters to hardest hit Chimanimani to help hunt for more than 300 persons who may have been buried alive in mudslides. Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa issued a general call for help from the international community last week. Idai, one of Southern Africa's worst weather disasters in decades, pounded Mozambique's port city of Beira with winds up to 170 kilometers per hour before moving inland to Zimbabwe and Malawi, destroying buildings and displacing thousands. The Kenyan government declared a drought emergency in February with 23 of 47 countries affected. The current drought is worse in a number of ways than in 2011, with some areas experiencing the failure of 3 rains in a row. As reporter Robert Nagela tells us in the story, more than 1 million Kenyans may need assistance as they experience food insecurity.
About 15 kilometers from the nearest town center in Tiati, Baringo County, an area hard hit by the prolonged drought, the Kenyan flag towers over Nelekat Primary School. With only 2 classrooms made of iron sheets, pupils take turns learning. The head teacher says the student population has dropped drastically in recent months as a result of the drought.
Many children left with their parents. In this area, they practice nomadism. So during a drought, parents moved the family seeking food for their animals, as we don't have a boarding school.
As they wait for their turn in the classroom, these students engage in extracurricular activities. A government-sponsored school feeding program caters for their lunch. They're among the lucky ones. Several schools in the area have shut down due to lack of water. In arid areas, schools such as this one are a vital resource for the community. They not only provide education for the children, but food and water for surrounding areas.
When the dams dried up, the water the government supplies, we decided to share with the community. You can't refuse. Some are very old, others are very young. When they hear we have water, they bring their jerrycans.
Behind the main block, on top of the school's water tank, a young boy draws water from the tank for community members. Water delivered 24 hours earlier by the government is almost over, and they hope to be resupplied soon. Back in class, the Standard 5s are preparing for exams. I want to be a teacher, Evans Domo tells me. When school closes next week, chances are, like many of his fellow pupils, he will move away with his family and their animals, seeking food and shelter from the drought. The head teacher hopes most of them will be back next term.
As if the drought were not enough, Nairobi County Health Chief Officer says more than 14 cases of cholera have been recorded in the county since the outbreak of the disease was reported in the capital 2 weeks ago. Health Chief Officer Washington Makodingo says so far, 14 patients with cholera symptoms have been admitted to different hospitals in Nairobi since City Hall issued an alert last week warning of a possible outbreak. Makodingo says the patients were isolated and that immediate treatment was administered on them. He said all of the patients except 2 have been discharged. Ugandan farmers now have an ample water supply for irrigation purposes, thanks to a United Nations aided solar irrigation system that now gives the farmers easier access to safe water. Hilary Yasiga reports.
Agnes Kemirembe tends to have vegetables on this patch of land in central Uganda. But providing enough water for her crops has been a challenge.
I used to walk long distances to collect water. The place is hilly and it's tiresome to carry a 20-liter jerrycan of water to this farm.
But not anymore. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization is helping farmers to access free water. They have set up a solar-powered irrigation system. The water is pumped from the Valley Dam to a storage facility near her garden, all using the power of the sun. Using this technology, Kemirembe can now grow her crops during off-season. She says this system helps her to earn all year round. She grows eggplants, cabbages and tomatoes for sale. Uganda's agriculture is largely dependent on rainfall. But that leaves farmers vulnerable to changing weather patterns. The UN believes this could be a solution.
Most of Uganda agriculture still rely on rain-fed. With the uncertainty of climate change, this can be problematic. So this type of solution is a demonstration that it's possible to bring water from the lake or from the ground to ensure that farmers can do the agriculture.
The technology is also helping farmers feed their animals.
Before this dam, I used to get like 15 liters of milk. And I didn't have these pastures, improved pastures. But when this water was brought here, this dam, and improved pastures, now I'm over 50 liters of milk.
According to the UN, 2.1 billion people in the world live without safe water at home. And figures from water.org indicate that 61% of Ugandans cannot access safe water. The solar-powered system can also filter the water to make it safe for domestic use. It's hoped that through initiatives like this, more people like Kemirembe will be able to access the water they need.
When we return, international news. Brexit is in chaos as lawmakers vote down all alternative options. And later, sport. Super Eagles coach General says no room for new players.
You are watching ANN.
Looking for some Disney magic but don't know where to find it? We've got a magical solution just for you. Simply go to DisneyNigeria.mobi and get an exciting selection of games, short videos, wallpapers, shareables, and more. Explore a whole new world of Disney on your mobile, tablet, or PC. For just 200 Naira monthly, you get to enjoy the fun to infinity and beyond. SMS Disney to 11006 to begin. Terms and conditions apply. This service is only available to MTN customers.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to global news. The UK House of Commons voted on Wednesday night on 8 alternative Brexit options, and all 8 options failed, leaving Brexit in more chaos as exit date fast approaches. Prime Minister Theresa May was unable to sway hardline opponents of a European Union divorce deal, even with an offer to resign as Prime Minister if a Brexit deal passes. With the Parliament falling short on an alternative bid, the Brexit process is as deadlocked as ever. Tomorrow, Friday, March the 29th, is the original date for Britain to leave the bloc. Brussels agreed last week to roll back the divorce dates to April the 12th. The EU believes that would give Britain a chance to resolve a 3-year crisis that has split the country down the middle. Today, it still remains uncertain how, when, or even whether the United Kingdom, the world's 5th biggest economy, will leave the EU. The possibility is that it will exit with no deal to soften the shock to its economy or delay the departure dates to hold the general elections have increased as other options failed. The Prime Minister's deal, defeated twice in Parliament in January and March, means Britain will leave the EU's single market and customs union as well as EU political bodies. European Commission says a no-deal Brexit is increasingly likely and that it will cause significant disruption for citizens and businesses. Boeing has issued chances to controversial control systems linked to 2 fatal crashes of its 737 MAX planes in the past 5 months. Even with that quick action, it is still not certain when the planes that have been grounded worldwide this month would be allowed to fly. Investigators are yet to determine the cause of the accident. As part of the upgrade, Boeing will install an extra warning system on all 737 MAX aircraft. Installation of that optional safety feature came at an additional cost, but Boeing says airlines would no longer be charged extra for that system to be installed. The plane manufacturer has also issued an upgrade to the software that has been linked to the crashes. Neither of the planes, operated by Lion Air in Indonesia and Ethiopian Airlines that were involved in the fatal crashes, carried the alert systems that are designed to warn pilots when sensors produce contradictory readings. Another major nationwide blackout in Venezuela that has entered 4th day has left millions in misery. Opposition leader Juan Guaido has called on supporters to take to the streets this weekend in protest. Residents scrambled to find food and water as businesses closed and schools were cancelled in the second major blackouts this month. Power went out in much of the country on Monday afternoon, just under 2 weeks after electricity was restored following the worst blackouts in Venezuela's history. The ruling Socialist Party has accused the United States government of sabotaging its electricity network. But Guaido and opposition critics say the outages are the result of a decade of corruption and mismanagement. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has said on Thursday she welcomed Facebook's decision to ban any content that praises, supports or represents white nationalism and white separatism on its social media platforms. Ardern said these categories should always fall within the community guidelines of hate speech. She hails Facebook's decision to now ban such content on its platforms after the attack in Christchurch. Facebook's ban was a shift in policy after criticisms by civil rights groups that it was failing to confront extremism. Ardern said 59 countries will send diplomatic representatives to a national remembrance service on Friday. The all-female editorial board of the Vatican Women's Magazine has resigned because of what it says are repeated attempts of sabotage and delegitimization. Founder and editor-in-chief of Women Church Word magazine, Losetas Carafayo, said the board has come under increasing pressure by the male-dominated heads of Vatican media, especially after last month when she and her colleagues denounced sexual abuse of nuns by clergy. Carafayo launched an insert in the main Vatican magazine in 2012 and has overseen its growth into a stand-alone glossy Vatican magazine as a voice for women by women. Up next, sports. Super Eagles coach Ghana Ross says no room for new players. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait, stop. You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down, keep walking to the left. Yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to sport. Super Eagles coach Ghana Ross says there wouldn't be a room for new players in his team ahead of the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations scheduled for Egypt in June. Ross said he had a pool of 32 players from where 28 would be invited for the final preparation for the competition unless Kanu Nwankwo, Austin Okocha or any of the oldsters resurfaces. Nigeria's Aruna Quadri and Alhaji Del Motayo are out in the first round of the International Table Tennis Federation World Qatar Open Men's Single event. Motayo suffered defeat in the hand of the Oman Open champion Lin Yongjun of Chinese after a close contest. Quadri and his part lost to Brazil's Thiago Monteiro also in the first round of the tournament. And that is the ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on this and other stories, visit our website, annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.